What is going on, guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today I probably have the most special video that I've had so far on the channel, and that's because I'm gonna have my dad in it. I don't know if many of you guys do know, he's been my coach along the way, and he's helped me with my swing since day one. And he's also a golf pro. I'm gonna let him talk about that, but this is one of the coolest videos and probably the most excited I've been for a video on my channel, just because he can look at my swing and let me know if he sees anything, that's going on. I'm always trying to get better, guys. There's always ways to improve. And if anybody's gonna spot something I need to work on, it would be my dad. So let's jump right into this, guys. We're going over to the Florida Club, which is a range right by my house here in Florida, and we're gonna get right into this. Let's get it. All right, guys, we got to the range. Here's my dad. Well, let's let him talk a little bit to you guys about what he's done and where he's got all the knowledge from.
Well, I was very fortunate to go to Dearborn High and then Central Michigan University, played golf at both those places. But I got the biggest break of my career going over to Frenchman's Creek in the winters, and the teaching staff over there when Jack Nicklaus owned it.
So you learned a lot from those guys.
Oh my goodness, every day you got to learn and watch them teach.
You learned from a lot. They're like legends, and you've learned all your knowledge from them. You've been teaching for how long?
This is my 53rd year. Be 75 in a couple of days. And
wow.
I started when I was 22.
Well, guys, he's gonna look at my swing like I said in the beginning, and just let me know if he spots anything that I'm doing, if I'm not rotating, all those different things that he's seen from the beginning of my golf career. So let's get right into this. All right, guys, you see right away he's got the alignment sticks like I always do in the labs videos. I always get my alignment sticks out, and for Steve and all the guys. What are you gonna do with these?
Well, I'm gonna make sure that I pick out a target that I can see and that it's easily findable.
Right.
And I'm going to make sure that if this is the stick which is going at the target,
right,
that I have chosen, then this is where my feet are going to be in relationship to that, which means they are parallel left. The biggest problem I see all of the time, people aim completely to the right with their feet, and then they have to get back to the target line because they don't realize that their feet should not be aimed at the target. They should be aimed parallel left. For the left-handers, it has to be the opposite side and parallel.
So we're going out to that green flag right there. All right, guys, I'm gonna warm up a little bit right now, hit some shots, just get loose, and then we'll dive right into it. All right, last one here, and then we'll dive right into it. That's enough for me. I don't really warm up, to be honest. I don't even it's weird. I only need like a couple swings, then I'm ready to go. Just get a little loose. Need to hit 2-minute ball.
Warming up in the original form, you don't want to just get up there and pull out your driver 2 minutes before you tee off and run over to the tee. You want to get over and get a rhythm established and start with your shorter irons and your wedges with half swings, and then try to hit a specific distance, then move up a couple of clubs to a 9 or a 8 or something, and then hit a few of those, a few 7s, and maybe get a couple of longer clubs, and then you're ready to go. But give yourself time before you tee off.
Gonna hit a couple 9-irons here. Now I really want my dad to just let me know if he sees anything going on, because I haven't been hitting the ball as good as I would have liked. So gotta work on a couple things, but see what he says.
Your tendency, of course, has been to aim a little bit right, especially with your driver. And although you're hitting it great, but you're always having to draw it because your body can't turn through because you get a little aimed right. And it actually infected your putting there for a while. You actually were aiming right with your putter.
Yeah, no, I know what you're saying, because that was funny, because I just played with Jonathan Bird, and he was saying that my body, guys, it gets aimed to the right. And what happens when you're aimed to the right, you have to stop your rotation and let your arms flip to catch up with the club face.
So you want your body speed and your arm speed and hand speed to match up.
Right, and so how exactly should I achieve that, like getting everything sequenced?
Well, the biggest thing is, as you take it back, if the club gets inside of that line, it's very hard to, you've got to do a lot of manipulating of the blade.
Right.
Whereas if you get the club where it's supposed to be here and stay on top of it, you can swing over top and keep your hips underneath you and keep rotating.
I get the club a little bit sometimes too far inside here, and then I have to stop and flip. If I keep it right here, I can rotate left.
It's physically very difficult once you get the club head inside your hands.
Right.
And I was blessed to work with Jim Flick, and that was the biggest tip he ever gave me as a 20-year-old kid learning how to teach.
Right.
Was he said, never let the club head get inside of your hands throughout the swing, and
Right.
you'll always hit it solid and straight.
That took all that draw spin off. That was just a dead straight.
When
Wow.
you aim to the right, your body's going to sense that you are aimed right,
Right.
and it's going to try to correct. So you'll slide your hips laterally instead of opening them up. and
That's true. Yeah, that's exactly
you
it, guys,
can't get
because
there.
I go a little bit lateral to the ball here, and then that makes me flip instead of rotating and opening. Exactly what he's saying. So this is the thing I got to work on, keeping that club a little bit more outside here on the takeaway and turning my body left. Hit a couple 9-irons there. Let's hit some 7-irons now. I like to hit the longer clubs because they tend to show a little bit more like where your misses are and how you're actually hitting it. You can get away with a lot of stuff on like a 9-iron, but once you get up to like a 7-iron and lower, it sometimes really shows how you're hitting the ball. So it's got all that hook spin off.
Correct. Gets all the side spin off the ball, and you can start it right at a target that you're aiming at,
Right.
and not worry about it having to come back. You never have to start it over trouble.
Sometimes when I really start to aim like way right and I'm hooking it, I even start my body over water and hook it back into play if I get too far right. So this is a little checkpoint. This is great to see because I don't always see this. I know that Jonathan Bird, when I just played with him, he talked about it, but my dad really knows what my tendencies are just watching me. It has no draw. It's almost dead straight. All those ball flights there, guys, are almost dead straight. And that's just because the takeaway.
And it's the difference between this and that.
Right.
It's all it is. It's the difference between that and that.
Right, exactly. That's the funniest thing about golf, guys, is it's the difference between my takeaway being right here, where it's a little inside, versus right here. That makes all the difference in the ball flight. I mean, a little change like that, obviously having my body aimed a little more left with the sticks that he put down. Every shot almost has been over the pin perfectly.
And that's because your feet are, if anything, a hair open versus closed.
Right. I didn't even notice the takeaway you were talking about until we took a video quick of my swing, and then we watched it on camera, and I was taking it a little bit inside. And that's a huge difference.
On the better players, it always goes back to their setup.
Right.
It's always setup. Something's off in the setup.
That's the one thing, guys. If you can't get that correct setup, we're gonna have some videos on the Good Labs if you guys have not checked that out. But we're gonna talk about setup too. Garrett and I will break it down. But if you're not having the correct setup, if your shoulders are wide open or wide or closed, it's gonna create a lot of compensations in your swing. Like I even need to have a little checkup here and there. That's why my dad got that extra set of eyes. All right, guys. So I'm gonna move on right now to a 5-iron, and I just told my dad, one thing I've been struggling with a little bit is the longer irons. I don't know why exactly, but what is your advice on hitting long irons? Because I don't know. I just struggle with like the 5 and 4 iron.
Ball position should move up a bit in your stance, and make sure that club head doesn't get inside your hands, because now you're coming at it from a different angle, which takes away all the side spin, and any side spin you might have had on a wedge or a 9-iron is
Right.
going to be exacerbated by the fact that you've got a longer iron, and now it's going to turn into a hook. Talking about ball position, and it should be slightly ahead of center.
Right.
So let's square your feet right off to that line and do it perfectly first.
Okay, perfect.
And that ends up being, that is determined by where you form a 90 and the ball goes through the ball.
Right.
Now, just by slightly closing his feet,
Like this? Okay.
look at what happens to his ball position. He didn't change his ball position, but that's where it is now.
If I closed it.
If you closed your stance, changed your whole ball position by being aligned improperly.
Right. So now if I open it, what does that look
Now,
like?
if you open it up, go ahead and set up.
Like this?
And in an open position, his
Or-
feet are here, but this is now gone all the way back to here.
So let's move back with an open.
Completely back in your stance.
Okay, I got that. Wow. Well, basically, guys, that summed up real quick means if you are open to the target or closed, that's gonna alter your ball position, just being open or close to the target. I didn't really even know that growing up. I didn't, now I do, but that's something, I mean, I just learned a little bit right there. So you like that?
Yep, I like that a lot, right there.
I'm telling you guys, I cannot hit it much better. I mean, these last couple balls, I've not been able to hit much better. And all I'm working on is making sure my takeaway is right here. I'm not thinking about any rotation or anything.
You don't have to, if you get the club coming down on the line,
right,
instead of inside the line, right, then you definitely are going to not have to worry about that, because you won't, the club head won't drag, and you'll have to flip it with your hands.
All right, guys, I'm gonna move on to my hybrid here, and I'm gonna try just working on the same things my dad was saying. Just keeping my takeaway right here and not letting the club get in here. So keeping it right there and rotating. As the clubs get longer, guys, you gotta move it a little bit forward, like he just said, making sure that my ball position, he's checking it to make sure it's okay, but we're moving it just a little bit more forward with each club that gets longer.
If anything, you can just open up even more and hit a soft cut if you want, or close off just a hair,
right,
and draw it just a hair if
right,
you have to do it for a pin position that you want to hit into.
I might be able to hit a cut here and there, which you guys don't see often, but this could be huge for pins that are maybe tucked to the right, and I need to get back to a pin that's obviously a cut pin. So all right, so I'm gonna move on to the 3-wood here. And what is your advice for hitting a little bit higher? Because that's one thing I would always, I mean, that's what I'm always searching for with my 3-wood, is just to hit it a little higher.
If you are closed off, if you are shut in any way, shape, or form, that
which I've been,
de-lofts the club.
Right, so I've been shut.
Impact, and it rotates down, so you lose loft. By opening up a little bit and placing forward, now you can hit a high cut, and that's what you want on when you're hitting at 250 yards with a par 5 over water. Right. On your second shot, you've got to be able to land it soft.
So I just got to open up, you're saying, a little bit?
Yes, just change your setup and alignment. Your swing's fine, you're hitting everything good, and that 3-wood, which you hated when you first got it,
I know,
you now love. It's your favorite club.
That felt so far forward. Like, that felt like I was almost hitting a driver. But that was the right height, so it's gonna land soft, because when I'm aiming right and flipping, I'm hitting lower shots a lot of the time. So, I mean, I can't say I've been hitting my driver that bad. I've hit a lot of fairways with that, but when it comes down to like the irons and the 3-wood, I tend to hook them a little bit too much. I hit a couple drivers, speaking of that.
Regarding the 3-wood, if Grant does not keep the ball forward and with an open to square stance and goes back to a slightly closed stance, his ball position changes completely. The club shuts down, and he's got to move the ball back in his stance to get contact with it, because that's where his club bottoms out. And that's why you have to open up to get the bottom out position to be forward in your stance.
If you're closed off to the target and you try and move it up, nothing's gonna change. You have to actually open your body as well. All right, last club of the day, guys. Gonna hit a couple drivers here. I've been hitting it good, so let's see what he has to say. I literally felt like my body was over here, and I went like this, but I literally hit that. That still drew.
That tells you something, doesn't
right.
it? Tells you what you are. If you remember the match that you played with AJ out in California,
yeah,
and you got to the last hole, you hit a cut off of the 18th hole,
yeah,
and it was a slight cut, and it was a bomb.
And when I hit those cuts, I think I sometimes almost hit them further than when I hit the draw. I'm gonna hit 1 or 2 more drivers, guys, and that will probably wrap up this video. Can't hit it much straighter, and that's, I think, a lot to do with just opening my body in the takeaway. I was still focusing on that takeaway with the driver even. Basically, now I have 2 shot shapes if I need them when I square off my body and I'm not so close where I'm only hitting this draw. Since I'm a little bit open, I can now hit a cut if I want, or a dead straight shot with no draw spin. So thanks for being on the channel, Dad. That was huge. Thank you for helping me. That was a big change, because I always go back to that for some reason, that closed setup. You know, I think I've done that in junior golf, haven't I?
Yeah, but just gotten better continually over the years. So from the time you were 16, 17, when you started going, and you did start late. Yeah. You started quite late, but you've really worked at it, and you just gain knowledge, and you're getting better and better.
always trying to get better. And now that Garrett and I are going to be challenging a lot more of the like touring pros and better players, it's always good to have my dad check out my swing and tune it up and get it better. So, well guys, hopefully you did enjoy this video. I had a blast filming with my dad. Haven't seen him in a while. I've been on the road so much and in Texas, so it feels good to be home, see my dad, and get the swing dialed in. If you guys did enjoy that video, be sure to subscribe, hit that like button. We're on the road to 100K. We're getting close, guys. I appreciate every single one of you. Until next time, guys. Peace out.